Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Piyush and this is video 48 in the CK 2025 series. In this video, we'll be doing the migration of an application deployed through Ingress to Gateway API. So there are some prerequisites to this video such as Kubernetes fundamentals and also Ingress, which was covered in day 33 of this series. Also Gateway API, which was covered in the previous video, which was day 47. So if you are already familiar with all those concepts, then we can proceed further with this video, because in this video we'll be just doing the demo of migrating an ingress to gateway. And why we are doing this, it's because it's one of the important tasks of a Kubernetes administration administrator. Now that gateway is a new service, it's an advanced form of ingress that is available. So organizations are moving away from ingress to gateway API, so it is kind of important to know. Plus it's an important question from the exam point of view as well, so make sure you try it out, make sure you do the hands-on. I will do the entire demo. I will do the end-to-end demo, as well as all the details will be shared in the GitHub repository along with the task if you want to try it out yourself first. But if you're stuck anywhere, you can watch this video or you can watch the solution from the GitHub repository. Okay. So yeah, let's start with the introduction, a little bit of introduction, and then we'll jump right away in the demo. Okay, so what are we doing in this video? We are doing the migration of Ingress to Gateway API. Okay, and then there are a couple of ways of doing that. So there is this way of using a third-party tool or an open source tool called Ingress to Gateway. So this is pretty basic. This is pretty simple and straightforward. You just download the tool from the GitHub. You just clone the repository and then you run this command. Okay, ingress to gateway, which is the binary name hyphen hyphen providers, and then you provide the ingress name, like for example ingress nginx in this particular example. And that's it. It will, what it will do, it will translate all your ingress resources into gateway API resources. Yep, so you can try it out yourself and you can make the changes in that. But this is too simple to implement. There is not much learning over here, right? You won't be able to understand the underlying concept of how do we translate resources from ingress to gateway API. So for that, we'll be doing this manual mapping. So that's another way, and this is what you will be mostly doing in the exam. And this is what gives you more learning, a good learning experience. Okay, so it has multiple steps, like first you start with the entry points. Okay, entry points means creating your listeners. Okay, adding all those details of the service inside the gateway API YAML, and creating all the prerequisite resources for gateway API. Then add the TLS termination step. you know um, if you are using HTTPS, so you should be adding this, and you define the routing rules. So HTTP route, HTTPS route, gRPC route, and so on. So you define the routing rules, and then you apply the changes, and that's it, right? So this is what we'll be doing, and let me just show you a quick overview of what we'll be doing. So we'll be deploying an application on this hostname gateway.web.kits.local. It will be local to your cluster. It's not an actual host name. So we'll just create a local DNS entry in etc host file so that this DNS name should be resolved. Okay. Then we'll create an ingress resource which is controlled by an ingress controller such as nginx, and it will listen to the service on slash path. This is the slash prefix, and service is exposed on port 80 and 443, and then there are some backend ports to it. Okay, so this is what you will be mostly provided in the exam. So this part will be provided to you already along with some of the gateway part. Now we have a gateway resource which is managed by a gateway class over here. Then we'll create routing rules such as for HTTP and for HTTPS. Then again, there'll be service. So this is basically the same service and same pods that are running in the backend. So what we'll be doing is, instead of redirecting the traffic from this hostname to Ingress, we need to change this routing to the gateway. Okay, this is the main task. This is what we'll be doing. And once it is done, once we do the migration, so that when user logged in or user do a curl on this particular hostname, the request should be redirected to the gateway instead of Ingress. Once we implement everything, then we'll be deleting the ingress resource. Okay, so this resource will be then deleted. Okay, so let me share my screen and then we can do the demo. Just give me a second. All right. So for this, I'll be using Kubernetes Playground. You can use any Kubernetes cluster that you have, your local Kubernetes, or if you are using a cloud service, you can use that. I'm using Code Cloud because they provide the free playground. I'll share the link as well in the description, so you can check that as well. So I'm gonna hit launch now. So by default, it comes with 1 hour of time, but you can extend it to 1 more hour by clicking on the time button over here. So I'll show you. It will extend the time further to more 1 hour. So you have 2 hours to implement anything end to end, and then you can restart it later on, create a new playground, whatever. Okay. So here by clicking over here, you can extend the lab by 15 minutes and you can do that 4 more times. So okay. So let's start with the demo. I'm gonna clear the screen. So first step is to deploy an application. Okay. So I have everything written in the GitHub documentation. Okay, and that GitHub, you already have the link probably from is the same CK repository, but I will also share that in the description of this video. Okay. So we'll start with deploying the service and creating a new namespace. So I'm just gonna paste the content over here and then let me show you what it did. It created a namespace called web app. It created a deployment and the name is web service. It created a service which is web service and a config map. Okay. So if I do kubectl get all hyphen m is web app. So this is the namespace that we created. So it has two pods running, okay, and one service which is exposed on port 80, okay, and then we have like these two pods are backed by the deployment, and there's the replica set as well. Okay, if you want to check the config map, so I can just do kubectl get config map hyphen n web app. Okay, so this is the config map that we have created, kubectl. Okay, I'll just show you the content. So whatever we have pasted, else you can just do a kubectl get cm web content hyphen o yaml. Oops. I forgot to add the namespace web app. Okay, so this is the content, and this is basically what it has. It has an index.html, the config map, and it just print a few details like web application content. This is web front end. It's just a simple HTML page. Okay, the simplest HTML page, which looks like this. Okay, that's the data of the config map. And how we are referring the config map in the application, let me show you the deployment YAML as well. Kubectl get deploy hyphen o YAML. We only have and then namespace as well. We only have one deployment, so it should show you the deployment if I add the namespace name correct, which is this one. Okay, so okay, we have spec which has an nginx container. In the nginx container, we are using a mount path, user share nginx html, and in that mount path we are using a config map. Okay, config map name is web config, which is the content that we had. So what it will do, it will mount that config map as a volume in this directory. So this is the same directory from which the nginx serve the default home page, right? Index.html. So when we deploy the app, it will serve the content of that config map on the home page of this application. Okay, I will show you once that is done. Okay, so our application has been deployed. It's exposed via a service. Now we need to create an ingress resource. Okay, but before that, let's create the self-signed certificate, because we'll be using the TLS termination as well, right? Um, so we'll be generating the self-signed certificate first. So I'm gonna use this command, which is OpenSSL. This I have shared in detail, in depth, in one of the video in the same series. So make sure you go through that. But what it is doing, it is generating the keys, TLS key, TLS cert, and then using this host name and the alternate text for the local DNS entry. Okay, so that's it. And then it generated these two files. Now using these two files, we can create a TLS secret in Kubernetes. Okay, so kubectl creates secret. Secret is of type TLS, as you can see, and the name of the secret is web TLS secret. The data inside this secret is cert and key, which was just generated, and the namespace is web app. Okay, secret created. Now if you can do kubectl get secret hyphen namespace is web app. Okay, so this secret has been created. Now the next part is to create ingress and ingress resource. Okay, so we'll be installing the ingress nginx using helm. So this is the command: helm install in ingress nginx and then controller service node port. So um, we'll be using two node ports for this: 30082, 30443. We'll change these ports later on, but for now let's just use the default ports, and it'll be using this repo. Okay, so I'm gonna hit enter and it should install ingress nginx. By the way, in the exam, if the task is about migrating Ingress to Gateway API, so these all steps will already be done for you, right? You just have to focus on the gateway related steps. Okay, so yeah, it's installed basically now. So the Ingress controller has been installed. Now we need to create the Ingress resource. Okay, so I have this command that I have copied. I'm gonna paste it over here. So what it will do, as you can see, it's of kind ingress, and it has these two are the important annotation for the ingress. This says rewrite target. Okay, so this has to be there for the nginx. This is nginx specific annotation. And then because we are using TLS termination, and we already have separate endpoints for HTTP and HTTPS. We'll be creating separate routes, so we can do SSL redirect as false. If you don't do that, you will get 308 redirect error while doing a curl on the HTTP endpoint. Okay, so it's better if we can just add this annotation as well. And then in the spec, you provide the ingress class name, which is nginx. So this ingress class name should match the ingress class name of your controller. Okay, then for TLS, we provide the host details like gateway.web, gates.local. It is the same for which we generated the secret earlier, right? So if you go back, so yeah, my screen, it was cleared earlier, but if you remember, before this step, we created the self-signed certificate, and it was for this host name. Okay, and then this will be using the secret. Okay, in the secret we have TLS cert and TLS key. Now we have the rules. Rules means how the ingress will be redirecting the traffic once it is received on this endpoint. Okay, so ingress will receive the traffic on this host, and then it will redirect it to HTTP on paths. Path is slash, path type is prefix, and backend is did it not copied? Yeah, so backend is it's not visible over here, but backend is the service, which is web service, the one that we created. Okay, let's hit enter. Okay, so the ingress has been created. As you can see, the name is web. class is nginx, and this is the host. Now we need to wait for this address to be populated. So there'll be an address, internal IP address provided to the ingress, on which the resource will be exposed. Okay, so we need to wait for it to be provisioned. It takes around a minute. So yeah, just let's just wait for it, and once that is done we can just test the configuration. Okay, address is there now. So what we need to do is we need to add the entry of this inside the etc host file. So I'm just gonna copy this command from here and open sudo vi etc hosts. Okay, let's go to the last line. I'm gonna use the shortcut shift G, then shift A to go to the end of the line in the insert mode, and then I'm gonna paste the details over here. Oh, that's first IP, and then we have this gateway dot web dot gates dot local. Wait, okay, and I'm gonna delete this line. Okay, so what we are doing is we are creating a local DNS entry so that when we do a curl on this particular host name, it should resolve to this IP. Okay, so I'm gonna save this file. Now we can just test the access using curl command. So curl hyphen k and then http, and our sorry, not this one. What was the host name? Gateway dot web dot k8s dot local. Okay, let's hit enter. And this is our default homepage that is exposed on the application itself. Okay, so in the application, the deployment that we created, that deployment is exposed by a service, but the container inside that deployment is using an nginx image which has this content. Okay, so the traffic is going from ingress um to the deployment, sorry, ingress to the service, to the deployment, and to the pod. Okay, and we can test the https as well. So instead of http, use https, and basically it is also showing the same details because we have the ssl certs installed, even though it's a self-sign certificate. Now what we can do is we can set up the gateway API resources. So I'm gonna install the gateway API CRDs first, and this is the same step that we followed in the previous video. So I'm not gonna explain that, we recently did that. Okay, so this is done, and then we'll install the nginx gateway using these commands. So it's gonna apply the CRDs, it's gonna apply the node port service deployment YAML, and yeah, and then it will create the nginx gateway resource. So if I run this command, both the pods are up and running. So these are the gateway pods. Okay, now we need to patch the service. Okay, and we need to update the port from whatever it was to 30080 to 30081. Okay, so I'm gonna use the kubectl patch command like this. Okay, and now you can verify the service if it has been updated or not. Okay, so as you can see over here, it says port 80 is exposed on port 30080. This is a service of type node port, and 443 on 30081. Now we have created the service as well, on which the gateway will be redirecting the traffic to. But to redirect the traffic, we need to create the gateway class, node routing rules, and so on. Okay, so let's start with creating the gateway class first. So I'm gonna use this command. It will create the nginx gateway controller. Oops. There are some extra lines, so I'm gonna delete those, and done. Hit enter. Okay, so gateway class will be created. Let's just verify kubectl get gc or gateway class. Okay, So gateway class name is nginx, and this is the controller it is using, which is nginx gateway controller. Accepted is true. That means it is functioning, it is running fine. Now it will watch the gateway resource because it's provision. The gateway resource should have the same gateway class name. So let me show you the YAML for gateway resource. Okay. So it's of kind gateway. Name is nginx gateway, and it will be provisioned in the nginx gateway namespace. Okay, it has listeners with the name https and http. Okay, https and http both will have the same host name, but they'll be using different protocols, http and https respectively. And in the https we have this additional section which says TLS mode is terminate and certificate reference of kind secret, name is web TLS secret, and the namespace as well. And you have the allowed routes namespaces from all means. This gateway will accept the route from other namespaces as well. Okay, or the other value is same is the default as well, but for now we are using all. Okay, so the same listener configuration will be there for http, but http would not have this TLS section. This TLS is specifically for https. Okay, let's hit enter, and as we can see, the gateway resource is created. Nginx gateway class is nginx, which was specified over here, gateway class name, and it should match with the gateway class that you have. Okay, and program is true. It won't have the IP address because like this is how it works. Like it won't have the IP address because it's not really I don't know why. I need to check why it won't have, but as far as I know, it won't have the IP address located over here. Okay, so even if it's not there, make sure the program is true, and that's the only thing you need to care about. Okay, now let's proceed further by creating the HTTP route. So we'll be creating HTTP route for HTTP and HTTPS. So this is the YAML. We'll create our first route. The name is web route in the same namespace in which our application is there, which is web app, and we need to provide the parent reference. Okay. Oh, I remember I told you I'm not going to explain a gateway related details because we recently did in the previous video, but even though I forgot that, and I'm still explaining it. Anyways, I'll just continue with that. So it has the parent reference. So this HTTP route has a parent which is gateway, right? This is from where it is receiving the incoming requests, right? And from the HTTP section. Now it has the rules, like rule should match with the path, prefix, value is slash on the slash path, whatever request you receive, it should go to this backend, which is web service exposed on port 80. Okay. So that's your first route. The second route is your HTTPS route, which is for HTTPS. Okay, and which basically has the similar detail, but instead of HTTP it is HTTPS, and it has a different name, and rest all is same. Okay, so let's hit that, and both the routes are created. You can verify that using this command, kubectl get http route hyphen n as web app. Okay, so both the route have been created and both the route have the same host name. Let's clear this and let's proceed further. Now you can verify the gateway status. So let's open this. Okay. Okay. The namespace is not correct. Namespace should be nginx gateway. Okay. So there shouldn't be any conflict. Okay. It should say listener is accepted and status is true. Type is accepted. Okay. This is what it should be if it does not have any error. Now it also says certificate reference to secret not permitted. Okay. And which, okay. And this must be for one of those listener. Okay. So that's one listener. Okay. And for which listener? Because this is related to certificate. So I am assuming it is for HTTPS. Yeah. It says type is HTTPS. sorry, type is program, name is HTTPS. So for HTTPS, we are getting an error which says certification reference to secret not permitted by any reference grant. Okay, reference grant, what it does is basically we need to create an additional object because our gateway is created in a separate namespace and our application or our HTTP routes, oh sorry, our secrets are created in a different namespace. So they are not allowed to use secret from one namespace in the gateway of different namespace. For that, we need to create an additional object called reference grant, or we need to create both the object in the same namespace. Okay, that is why it is throwing this error. For the HTTP, I believe for HTTP it should be okay. Okay, so let's check the HTTP route as well. So kubectl describe HTTP route web route hyphen n web app. Okay, so you see route is accepted, accepted, true. Yeah, I don't see any issues. But if we check the HTTPS route, which is web route hyphen HTTPS, it has this error. Listener is invalid for the parents reference, and we already saw the error in the gateway object. Okay, so for that, let's create the reference grant. Okay, so this is the object. Gateway networking v1 beta 1 reference grant is the object name, and the name is allow gateway to web app secret, and this is the namespace in which the secret resides. Okay, we need to create the reference class in the same namespace, and here is the spec which has a from and a to. From is uh, the object that is trying to access the secret, which is nginx gateway, right? And it is there in the nginx gateway namespace. To is to all the core APIs for secrets like get, list, delete, and whatever. And then we have kind, which is secret, and we can specifically restrict it to a particular secret, or we can um just keep that. This is optional. Okay, we can just keep as double quotes, and then it will be applicable to all the secrets, but let's just keep it for this secret because that's what we need in this demo. Okay, so let's hit enter, and it says reference grant created. Now that reference grant is created, let's see if we have the same error in the web route HTTPS. Okay, now it says route is accepted, accepted, all references are resolved. Now the issue has been resolved with the help of the reference grant that we've created. All right, now let's move ahead and let's test the configuration. Okay, so to test the configuration, earlier what we were doing, we were just using the curl on the endpoint. So for now, because we don't have the DNS entry for the gateway API, right? Because the gateway API will be accessible on the node IP. If you are using a sandbox or minikube or a local Kubernetes cluster, it will be accessible on the node IP on 30080 and 30081 port. So you can use this command in which we are resolving the host name to this particular IP, node IP. Okay, so let's check the node IP first. kubectl get nodes hyphen o wide and take the IP of the control plane. Okay, so this is the control plane node. I'm gonna copy this and I'm gonna, oops, let's just copy this command as well. Okay, and this IP from here colon 30080. Okay, this is the content that it returned. Web application content, this is front end service. Now we know this is coming from the, because we are connected on the node IP. So that means we are not getting this response from the ingress. We are getting this from the gateway itself, gateway IP. Now in the same command, let's update HTTP to HTTPS, and HTTPS was exposed on port 30081. So let's update that as well. Okay, now we are getting an error unrecognized name. Okay, so for HTTPS, because the certificate was added on the host name and we are resolving it over here, so that's why it is throwing this error. So let's add this particular IP as well in the etc host file. Oops, sorry about that. So let's copy this. Okay, sudo vi etc hosts. Okay, I'm gonna go to the last line. This is the IP and the same host name. Okay, let's save this. Okay, now let's run the curl command. Not this command. Now we don't have to run, um, we don't have to provide the host name, right? We can just use this command. Okay, oops, 30081. Okay, we are still getting unrecognized name. Okay, because I use the IP, I need to use the host name. We already did the mapping inside the file for the local DNS. So let's just use the host name. Okay, so curl -k https and hostname :30081. Okay, we are getting the reply. And if we do -v, which is verbose, and it should show the source as well, right? So go up and you see this is the node IP. That means the request and the response is coming from the gateway API and not from the Ingress, because Ingress had a different IP, right? So this is how you can test, and you can do 30080 on HTTP because we have added the entry, right? So you see, this is from the node IP. Now that we have done the migration, now our requests are going via the gateway API. Now the last and final step we can do is to delete the ingress resource and test the connection again. So kubectl get ingress -a for all the namespaces, and let's do kubectl delete ingress, or ing is also fine. Name is web -n is web app. I did not provide the name web. Okay, delete it. Now if we did everything as like, if we like tested everything so far, and we have done everything as per what I have shown, so your, even though you deleted the ingress, your curl should still work fine. Okay, so let's run the curl. This is for HTTP. Okay, it is, we are getting the content, so no issues. We are getting the 200 response, and let's do that for 30081 for HTTPS. Okay, we're getting the content, no issues, and we don't have the ingress resource kubectl get -a. We don't have the ingress anymore, and the requests are coming from the gateway API. So this is how to successfully migrate from ingress to a gateway API resource. And this is, as I've told you, and again, a crucial task from the exam point of view, from the Kubernetes point of view, because this is one of the recent and one of the advancement in the Kubernetes which surpasses, or which will replace ingress resource. Okay, so I hope you found it helpful, you found it valuable. I will see you soon with the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you do the hands-on, make sure you complete the task given in the GitHub repository, and yeah, I'll see you soon. Thank you so much.